Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and in this video we will be looking at one of the most underplayed Warframe, and that is the Garuda Prime. Before we get into the builds that I have for you, let's take a look at the Archon Shards that I have installed. So here are the Archon Shards that I have installed. This is actually pretty strange or weird because of the casting speed being, well, overkill a little bit, but I do have a build that requires casting speed, so I've just put up a bunch of these here. When it comes to Archon Shards for Garuda, you don't really need to have casting speed. It depends on your playstyle, so I will let you know what shards you definitely need for each build. Starting off with the most common build possible, and that is the Vampire build here, or just a healing build for Garuda. Depending on your playstyle will determine what Archon Shards you should have. For example, if you're going to go for pure melee, you definitely want to get some melee shards on here no matter what. If you're going to be using primary weapons only, definitely get some primary weapon shards on here, as well as secondary buff shards as well, if you're going to be using only secondary guns. For this build, I am using a melee because of Garuda's talents, which is pretty much her signature melee weapon, and I just want to make a build specifically for her talons, which is pretty dumb because obviously melee weapons are a lot stronger than talons. So the mods I have here are pretty much straightforward. I do have a 95% duration and 100% stock range, which is good enough for me. I have Steel Charge for the melee damage, Power Drift for the ability strength. I do have the Prime Continuity as well as the Umbro mods here. Now the reason I do not have Umbro Intensify on here is because of Archon Intensify actually works really well with Garuda because of the ability Blood Alter. When you take damage, you activate Blood Alter, you actually get the extra 30% ability strength, and that's when you have at least 10 seconds to cast whatever you want. So Dread Mirror or Gloom, which I do highly recommend casting first. Then I have the ability efficiency mods, which is Streamline and Fleeting Expertise, because these mods actually work extremely well with Gloom. I have Rolling Guard here for the damage and vulnerability. Now the reason I have this besides adaptation is because when I get close to Eximus, I usually just roll towards them and then just melee the crap out of them. It's definitely a personal playstyle for me. I can swap this out for adaptation if I wanted to, but Rolling Guard seems to be more beneficial for me here. Dread Ward is actually a placeholder mod here. I'm not really sure what mods to put on this slot here. I could do Augur Secrets, Augur Message, but there are times when I do actually use the mirror when I see an enemy for an instant kill threshold, so I just use Dread Ward here. And then the Arcanes, I have Arcane Strike and Fury, which is pretty much common. If you will not be using melee at all, well, you can have something similar to this setup here. So it's pretty much the same mods except that Bloodforge will be on here, as well as the arcane mods for your weapons. So these are just placeholder arcanes here. So Arcane Acceleration or any arcane with fast fire rate you definitely want to put on here, and then any arcane with damage. You don't really need Arcane Avenger, this is just a placeholder. Just get some sort of damage arcane mod here if you want, or you can use Arcane Avenger if you want as well. For this Steel Charge mod, you definitely want to reformat this Warframe one more time to get a different mod. Like I said before, this build is based off of a melee build, and it's pretty strong. I do get some red crits here and there, with no ribbons obviously because it doesn't work with the Garuda talents. I don't really use bloodletting that much because I am not using guns. Okay, so that's pretty much the common builds that I see in Garuda, but there is a uncommon build that I do have that actually works really well with Steel Path. I'll call the build Do You Bleed because this is pretty much a bleeding build. You make enemies bleed and they will take so much damage. Before I even show you the demo of the build, I'm just going to show you the mods I have here. So here I have some good duration and good strength. Range and efficiency doesn't mean shit here. The ability that I have subsumed would be Nourish, and this is absolutely mandatory for this build to work. If you do not have this ability, you will not do damage. And the reason being is because the viral damage actually works well on Seeking Talents. So you do Slash and you do Viral, you're pretty much going to kill your enemies. The mods are pretty straightforward. I did not want to form on my Garuda again, so I just left Steel Charge on here. That's pretty dumb, I know. I should put like Growing Power here for more damage, but I mean it's only like 25% ability strength, so just Steel Charge is fine enough. So I have all these ability strength mods on here. It's pretty much straightforward in terms of mods. Prime Flow, you definitely want to have this. Even though you have Bloodletting with Nourish, you definitely want to get Prime Flow because you do not want to spam Bloodletting and Nourish like crazy. So definitely want to get as much Seeking Talents casting as much as possible before you have to restock on energy with Bloodletting and Nourish. The reason I have high duration on this is because, again, you don't want to spam your Nourish too many times because obviously you want to cast as many Seeking Talents as possible before you restock on energy. The Arcanes are pretty self-explanatory. I have Molt Efficiency here for the duration buff. I have augmented here for the ability strength. If you do not have molt augmented, the arcane power ramp is also another alternative. Molt efficiency is not really needed that much, only for the duration of nourish, to be honest. If you don't want to have that, you could just use arcane steadfast. That's actually another option for you. So the idea of this build is pretty simple. You want to cast nourish and then cast bloodletting to get full energy. The lower your HP, the more energy you get. That's why I don't have no vitality here. And since I have augur mods on this build, pretty much I'll be 100% shields 100% of the time. And then I can cast Seeking Talons like crazy with the casting speed Archon Shards. Unfortunately, you do not want to be on the ground when you cast Seeking Talons because of FOV. So you definitely want to be in the air or somewhat in a vantage point. If you're going to be on a vantage point, all you have to do is just stand on top and just spam Seeking Talons, keep an eye on your energy pool, and cast Bloodletting whenever you need to. Now, of course, Bloodletting will eat up your HP when it comes to that, so just use an Operator Arcane that heals your HP. Now, another way to cast Seeking Talons is in mid-air throughout the entire time. So when you're casting Seeking Talons mid-air with no vantage point, the idea is that you want to bullet jump up in the air, cast Seeking Talons, and then make sure you are gliding after you cast. When you glide, you're going to be in the air for a few moments and then you can cast Seeking Talons again. However, if you keep going up in the air, you're pretty much going to have to be resetted back to the ground because, well, you're going outside of the map, so be careful of that. Now, this build is pretty strong in Steel Path, but it's also extremely good in Steel Path circuits. Alright, so you've seen the first two builds already. Let's look at the dumbest build I ever made that actually works. Yes, I said it, the dumbest build ever. So this build actually works on both normal and Steel Path, and I call it the Agent of Shield, which is a dumb name, but let me explain. So this build is built around the Dread Mirror. When it comes to Archon Shards for this build, you definitely don't need that many Archon Shards because, again, it's pretty dumb, so just put whatever you want. So let's take a look at the mods before I even go over the demo of the build. Now, I do have two augments on here, Dread Ward for Dread Mirror, and then I have Blinding Reeve for the Augmented Reeve ability. So I think you pretty much have guessed what kind of build this is. So the idea is to use Reeve and just spamming the crap out of it on enemies, and then when I see an enemy that's at least on the threshold insta-kill, I actually cast the Dread Mirror and I get the 20-second time invulnerability. Now, once I get that going on, I could either just melee the crap out of them, do whatever I want, or keep reaving. It's definitely up to me. The reason I have the Blinding Reeve augment is for the extra range, and with the arcanes here, I just have efficiency and augmented because I will mainly have 100% shields throughout the entire time because of Reeve. Now, the reason why I said this is dumb is because based on several missions I have played on, I'm pretty much the only guy that has the lowest kills and lowest damage, but I'm pretty much the tank, somewhat a tank of the team. So this build is pretty dumb, but it works. So if you want to have some fun with Reeve and Dread Mirror, this is a build for you. Otherwise, I do highly recommend just playing with the True Vampire and the Do You Bleed builds that I have. And that is it for this video. Hopefully this video helps you a little bit on Garuda. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace out.